Laughter has been called to be the best medicine. When they asked George Burns, who lived past 100, what the secret to longevity was, he replied, "Do not take yourself or life too seriously. After all, nobody has gotten out life alive. A good, funny story is always welcome, and you can effectively learn and hone your communication skill through telling humorous stories. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, while searching ideas for this presentation, make them laugh, I realized I have many stories of my family to tell. How many of you wrote down your family funny story? Only, Gloria? Anyone else? I did neither. Fortunately, I have a fun family and in-laws that in coming up with funny stories for this presentation, I did not have to spend too many efforts in recollecting their funny stories. I start with my father-in-law. My father-in-law and I often have lunch or dinner together. I cherish his several funny stories. Any of you here ever had instant coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of coffee that you just add water to the coffee when you make it at home, and you take it with you to go. Working the early shift for postal office, my father needed to make coffee quickly to get out of the house every early morning. Instant coffee was his choice to quickly wake him up at 3 in the morning to go to work. Some brands of instant coffee have label on the pack saying 3 in 1, meaning coffee, sugar, and cream are all in one pack. One day, my father-in-law got home. He looked concerned and more tired than usual. He told my mother-in-law, my wife, and me, something was dreadfully wrong with me today. After I finished my instant coffee, my heart started pumping so fast. All day long, my head constantly pounded like it beat the hell out of me, and the feeling of excitement consumed me and drained all of my energy. Of course, we were all concerned. Detecting something that was abnormal, my wife asked, "How many cups of coffee did you drink today, Father?" "Just 1 cup," he replied. After a pause, he continued, "I used 3 packs to make 1 cup. Did I do it right? It said 3 in 1. Gosh, he thought 3 in 1 means 3 packs for 1 coffee. I could imagine every now and then I would make the same mistake if I had to get up 3 o'clock in the morning. My father-in-law used to be a police officer back then when he was still in Vietnam. One late afternoon, while on duty, he noticed a man was driving above the speed limit of local streets. So he turned on the red lights, started the pursuit. The driver started racing down the highway, 60, 70, 80, 90, and finally 100 miles an hour. Realizing that he could not outrun my father-in-law, he finally gave up, pulled over the curb. My father-in-law got out of his cruiser. He approached the car and leaned down and said, "Mister, listen, I have had a really lousy day today and just want to go home. Tell me a good reason and I would let you go." The driver, the man, thought for a moment and said, "3 weeks ago, my wife ran off with a police officer. When I saw your cruiser in my rear view mirror, I thought you were that officer and you were trying to return her back to me." My daughter also saw something to remember. She was too innocent that she accidentally embarrassed her parents. She was very small at that time. We were in the church, attending Mass. At the moment, everyone was quiet and praying in silence. In a seemingly and extremely loud voice, she asked, "Dad, did you just pass nasty gas?" My gosh. It seems like everyone was looking at me. I wish there was a hole for me to crawl in and escape. My son has also provided with me a story. One day I took him to see his doctor. At the doctor's office, the nurse informed me and him that she needed to collect his urine. So the nurse and I was in the restroom helping him. While he was peeing in the cup, he suddenly got nervous and asked in a shaking voice, "Dad, do I have to drink it?" My brother and I went to high school in Vietnam. My high school assignment was to ask someone who had fought in Vietnam War about his war experiences. Since my brother was in the Navy and was someone who was very proud of being a sailor, I chose him. So after a few questions, basic questions, I cautiously asked him, "Did you ever kill someone?" He becomes so quiet. After a long pause, and in a soft voice, he replied, "Probably I was the cook." My mother-in-law owns a restaurant. Tony has been there before. The food at her restaurant are consistently great. Every now and then I go there for breakfast or lunch. One day I stopped by and when one of the staff asked me what I was going to have, I told her I only wanted half a sandwich. She replied, "What am I going to do with the other half?" A few weeks later, I returned and told another server that I wanted only half a sandwich. He replied, "Do you want the top or the bottom?" See, they are the people who have a good sense of humor. Over the years, my co-workers have also have some very interesting stories. One of my co-workers have been in this country only a few months. Although one of the person I found